What's good, YouTube? And welcome to the house. I think I drove the point home that you guys should be after this structure deck at $10 a piece, maybe even $11.50 online from Core TCG. Now every single copy under pretty much $15 seems to be disappearing from the Soulburner structure deck sealed itself. We look over on eBay, oof, barely under 15. We got a couple hanging the line. So what really happened here is Konami seems to have found a way to short print Ash Blossom again, as several people have put it on Facebook, and this really oversold on the distro level, sold out from Konami. There it all went, mainly because of Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring, but also because Salmon Greats are a competitively viable strategy that will be topping YCSs. The question is, in how many droves? It's kind of a control deck that has a lot of aspects to it that I respect, but at the same time, with Sky Strikers as powerful as they are, it's going to be a struggle to see it develop throughout the meta, but it will be played in droves. You will see a ton of people go for it. So with this being said, $15 a piece, unfortunately, isn't that bad. I've seen memes about local OTSs charging $20 and then wondering why their OTS is dying. Those sorts of things. And in my opinion, yeah, this was bound to happen. I've been screaming it would happen. But the real question is, will this eventually get a reprint? We've seen very popular structure decks like the Dragons Collide structure deck or Blue Eye structure deck down the road get reprints, end up on Walgreens shelves forever. And my wondering is, will Konami see, man, this sold like hotcakes, should we go ahead and print this again? So I don't think it's immune to being reprinted as a structure deck for those who are really breaking the bank on $5 a piece. I still think $45 though for competitive strategy. It doesn't feel good. And of course, if you're in more of those country areas where people aren't rushing to Walmart for this or rushing towards GameStops, get them. I've also heard stories about my GameStop only had 2 of these straight out, meaning that the employees were already holding copies for people or themselves or friends. So be aware that's a thing too if GameStop's where you might be shopping for these. Another just note that I've mentioned, Psychic Wielder has been actually played in Salmon Greats and lists that I'm seeing online that are popping off from some competitive players. So I wonder if people will be considering this for the Salmon Great decks. I don't think it's necessary, but I still think this is a highly underestimated card, and I think it might prove itself in several places in the meta, especially anything going for that rank 3 XCs strategy. Just a side note, I've been screaming it, don't need to scream it anymore. Just want to note that it's in Salmon Greats too for some people. Tempest Magician. Ooh, okay. I think I immediately saw this coming when I started mentioning that I was scared of getting FTK'd by her. I really hope, for the most part, that this ends up on the next FNL list with all the spell counter craziness coming to us in a structure deck in the future that also seems semi-competitive. This is only for burn damage. You remove spell counters from anywhere on the field. I think it's only degenerate, but it will force them to play tuners that go into a 6. It needs a non-tuner spellcaster specifically. Still, life in FTKs finds a way, and people really went after the secret rares, even the unlimiteds, along with the crazy first editions. Basically, anything with spell counters that breathed started getting bought out if it was not that easy to get. Arcanite Magician, luckily, has a more recent gold version that's super cheap. So a lot of the other versions, if you don't want to play gold, are relatively affordable. If you're thinking of another synchro that can pretty much infinitely pop your opponent's field. You can remove a spell counter from your side of the field to target a card your opponent controls, destroy it, no once per turn clause here, and it gives itself 2 spell counters when summoned. So, kind of a field clear thing that does not just monsters, but cards to consider. Of course, Jackal King, one of the top considered cards, as Jackal King and Cerberus are competitive even in modern pendulums today, so it's currently seeing use for some duelists, and spell counters abound, they mix pretty well with that structure deck, it would seem. And Master Cerberus is starting to go slowly up with Jackal. I've been watching him for a while. There's been one unlimited available from Expo before everything just starts going up. I suggested the first eds of these a while ago once the structure started to be announced, and turns out it's way better than I could have imagined so far. The Endymions will mix pretty nicely with the Mythical Beast. I wonder if we'll see reprints with the structure deck. That would be very nice, but at the same time, people like to procure their cards beforehand, not considering that a structure deck could be the place for reprints like these. So do consider that is a possibility. Battles of Legend ahead also before the WCQ, but at the same time, right now it's looking like these are the only copies, and it's not a guarantee it will get reprinted. That might not be on Konami's mind, so people go in fast for all of the spell counter goodies. Now, here's an interesting one. Inspector Border is going on up. This is really just a great card. I've always found stun-like cards that had this aspect to be pretty good, and of course, True Draco players do consider this card, although going second True Draco doesn't winky face. A lot of people commented on that profile, and they're like, oh, throw 3 evenly matched in and it's going second. Well, he also chose options to not play Inspector Border, but I still think Border here with Pot of Extravagance ends up seeing play in certain decks, like maybe even Altergeist, where you've been able to set up a Link monster and you only need the 1 bounce per turn, and you're not going to be abusing other effects. So Inspector Border becomes a really great restriction on your opponent when they can, they try to build a board and you're able to use your 1 bounce with Altergeist. I think it fits in different places and it's creeping up justifiably so. Over on eBay, you still have a couple of cheaper copies if you want to get yours sooner than later, but it's really low quantities, 11 prices and 11 prices, so this could be 15 very soon if you don't get yours, don't get stuck with a higher price. Trishula, really, ultimate rare. I've been trying to wrap my head around this one just a little. I don't really see where it's coming from. Yes, it's a dragon, but it's got to be synchro summoned. Has a higher rarity than the ulti. I think this is just because of the nice collectability, playability, DT lore, really nice looking card kind of buyout. But it's just pretty insane. I don't think it'll deviate too much from market price for the ultimate rare. I just don't see the why, I guess, because there's so many cheap versions. The cheap secret rares even look nice. Ooh, that's one expensive playmat if you ever find it. But seriously, I don't see the reason for targeting this other than it's an Astral Pack ulti. Yes, over time, I think it will do well. It's very symbolic of the game. Very good for past formats, but I just don't see it currently. Like, I don't see a competitive hype, so those are the only reasons I can bring to the table. Let me know if you're playing Trishula in some meta strategy and what you're doing to facilitate that. And over on eBay, we also see similar, quantities, only 4 copies, and it quickly rises as well. Now, going to the collector's market, surprise, surprise, I was looking through Blue Eyes. This is actually a couple of copies before it's $6, but the other Jump version was brought to my attention. Blue Eyes White Dragon, the good old Jump version. There's so many copies of Jump cards that it blows my mind when something like this rises. There's just so many of them. And we see it trying to stick around $35 now after buyout. I really didn't see this one coming. Its market price is $30. It was in my, blind spot here where last I looked it was 18, 15, and I thought that was high because it used to be 10 and Blue Eyes was super relevant. People just really like them. Like the anniversary pack, I think more rightfully so, insanely amazing art for $40 just continues to rise as well, I believe. Let's see where it's actually at for lowest available. Well, we're passing 40 into 50 almost. So yeah, it's just like these things with the collector market, especially iconic cards, that makes a little more sense to me. It's tied to the anime, it's tied to nostalgia, it's tied to college kids are gonna get out of college, they're gonna want their favorite card similar to Charizard. The Blue Eyes is that for us, so this makes a lot of sense to me versus competitive play in the past. And it's just crazy to see, despite the quantities, how the collector's market just moves in droves and eventually takes takes everything off. And final tab here. Hajun the Winged Mayakashi. I think Mayakashi has a lot of insane support. We're going to continue to see independent sellers give low prices and try to make sales despite the buyout that happened on him. I don't really know why this got pushed so hard, other than Mayakashi does have deck out FTKs that could just be cited for if it ever blindsides the format, question mark. The Mayakashis, in my opinion, they lack just a little bit because of all the restrictions they put back into Mayakashis themselves, but at the same time, I think they do have, they're like one card away, one Spiral Double Helix like card from being insanely crazy broken, and there is hype around it, so I'm just not buying into it. I think Ballard Roach / Negates is the way to go with zombies, but even that's having a hard time. So people always get excited about zombies. They're one of those archetypes, or I guess types in general, that people just go, oh, I'm a zombie duelist, I love zombies, I'm Bones now, and that kind of stuff. People get really excited for zombies, and I think this was susceptible as one of the better cards, and the Mayakashi cards in general are susceptible to buyouts in the future if they get more broken support coming out. But thanks for watching today's Market Watch. What do you guys think of what's happening? Spell Counter, Soulburner, everything breaking down. Let me know what you think. Subscribe if you haven't already. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed the discussion, and I'll continue to bring you guys kind of hints of what I think is a decent pickup, even if people tell me no. I can be wrong. I totally can be wrong, but I don't think I am with Psychic Wielder. It's just really good. Although I guess it does have a clock for the Megatons in the future.